solo 5e journey using Tanares RPG character continues from where we left off on the last episode. This time, I am more focusing on actual 5e gameplay and the detail of the rules. I am including my investigation effort and a reference of rules in this episode. I'm not trying to make a tutorial video here, as there are many great ones already out there. Instead, these references are meant to illustrate the depth and complexity of the 5e rule. In this episode, we are looking at the adventure part of the game that is outside of the combat. Let's get started. After the first encounter against 4 goblins, Gaknak and Emboro needs some resting. In 5e, characters' hit points do not magically heal to full after each combat. The characters needs to rest and there are specific rules for them. A short rest is a period of downtime at least 1 hour long. A character can spend 1 or more hit dice at the end of a short rest. For each hit dice spent, the player rolls a die and adds a character's constitution modifier to it. The character regains hit points equal to the total. The long rest is period of extended downtime at least 8 hours long. At the end of long rest, a character regains all lost hit points. The character also regains spent hit dice up to a number of dice equal to half of the character's total number of them. I think this is a great example to test how you feel about 5e as an adventure board gamer. Do you see resting in 5e as an interesting game mechanics or unnecessarily complicated? If you feel each character should just get full health back after each combat automatically, I think you are looking for more streamlined, perhaps combat-focused games. Many adventure board games, I think, are built like that, including Arena the Contest. If you see the resting system here as more opportunity for players to tactically manage resources, then you would like 5e system. I personally got excited seeing the resting mechanics in 5e for the first time. Going back to my adventure, I felt short rest is inappropriate in my case. Hit dice is one of the character's parameter specified on the main character sheet in the Tanares RPG. For instance, Gaknak at level 3 has 3 d8 hit dice. Foundry VTT takes care of the data tracking automatically here. I rolled 7, adding constitutional modifier of +1, and Boro regained 8 total hit points. At the time of this recording, I have noticed Emboro actually has +2 constitutional modifier due to Taimak's special species trait, Equivalent, but this was not reflected in the Foundry BTT and I have not yet found an easy way to enter this. So technically he should have healed 9 hit points. Gaknak regained 7 hit points by rolling 4 and adding his +3 modifier. After the short rest, I kept reading the adventure book. If my characters can successfully find Goblin Trail, the story continues to next Goblin encounter. But if my party fails to find a trail, the story jumps to the next chapter. This is where I think 5e rule gets interesting. Rather than just giving me multiple choice questions, or perhaps a single die roll to determine what happens, 5e has what's called ability check tests. To make an ability check, roll a d20 and add the relevant ability modifier. As with other d20 rolls, apply bonuses and penalties, and compare the total value to the DC or difficult class. If the total equals or exceeds the DC, the ability check is a success. Because the test is comparing to the difficulty class value, this is often referred to as DC check. Because of the ability modifier is determined by the character's statistics, which depends on character's level, background, class, and others, this system is not just a pure dice roll determines your fate system. There are many abilities and skills in 5e. For instance, some classes are really good at perception skill, which is frequently used skill to detect things like a trap. So having a such character in a party may become gaming strategy. Here in my adventure, my party needs to first see if they can find the Goblin's Trail. For this, the DC check with survival skill is performed. The target value is 10. Embolo has survival skill modifier of +3, and he rolled 1 on d20. Therefore, his total is 4. This is lower than the target DC value of 10, so he has failed to find the Goblin's Trail. Fortunately, despite Gagnak having only +1 survival skill modifier, he rolled 14, so he got total 15, which is higher than DC value. So he has successfully discovered the Goblin's Trail. If you have played Arena the Contest, you may wonder if Emboro rolling 1 means automatic miss independent of +3 bonus. It turns out the official 5e rulebook definition of 1 for automatic miss and 20 for critical hit only applies to combat attack roll, so it won't apply here. As the narrative continues, it described about couple traps along the way. For this, narrative first asked me to choose party's marching order before proceeding. So before reading any further, I chose Gagnak on front and the Emboro on the back because Gagnak is my main character. At this point, I had not put any tactical thinking. But good player should put higher perception skill individual in the front, as that's the skill to be tested when identifying traps and other dangers along the way of adventurers. As the Gagnak and Emboro continues to follow the trail, the narrative asked for a perception check to see if Gagnak can preemptively notice the trap and evade it. As someone who had never played a 5e game, I thought this whole trap system was also very interesting. The general flow is first use the passive perception skill check. This is conceptual to see if my character could see the trap because his base attentiveness is enough to find the traps. A passive check is a special kind of ability check that doesn't involve any die rolls. Here's how to determine a character's total for a passive check. 10 plus all modifiers that normally apply to the check. If this fails, the DC perception check is required. So this time, my d20 die roll luck determines the result. I interpret this as if Gagnak has initially failed to notice the trap using his natural attentiveness, so this time he starts to actively searching for the trap. For the first trap, perception check score was 12. Since Gagnak has passive perception of 13, he has immediately noticed the snare trap and successfully evaded. The second trap was a 10 feet deep pit with perception check of 15. So Gagnak's passive perception test has failed. Although tried to be extra cautious and attempted to actively search for the trap, he had sadly failed the DC perception test as well, so the trap is triggered. Now, rather than just taking a damage immediately at this point, I was given the third chance. This time I rolled for a saving throw using Dexterity Saving Throw modifier. Saving throws are another form of a stat parameter that is tied to ability scores, but just like skills, some saving throws may be more than just ability score bonus. We use saving throws when it is specifically asked to do so. As the name says, this is to save the character from the danger. Conceptually, this is to see if Gagnak was able to avoid falling into the pit at last moment by hanging on the edge of the pit. In this case, Gagnak ended up reaching to the bottom of the pit and took 1d6 roll damage. This whole trap system is very versatile. Again, I have never played 5e before the current adventure, but I can see designers can easily make many variations and types of traps via a combination of skill tests, difficulty values, and even a sequence of number of tests. For example, some traps may be quick instantaneous with passive check alone. Maybe other trap effect persists until you successfully escape the condition. So each failing roll keep damaging the character. The possibility seems endless. The narrative states at this point I have completed Goblin Ambusher part of the story, and each character is awarded with 75 experience points. Even though there was no combat today, ability check system in 5e is extremely intriguing. I have certainly felt like I was playing a game with unpredictable outcome. The system certainly follows what I consider the heart of the casual game, the controllable luck to create playing variance. Even though multiple choice can be a valid method and I certainly see its use, finding trail, avoiding traps felt much more game-like and immersive using ability check system than if I were to say I take right here and left there and as a result I fell in the pit. This ability and skill check system is so versatile, the limitation of where to use its designer's imagination. Is there a downside? I think there is. This system can be easily overutilized, and when that happens, it could feel more of analogous to game grinding than fun part of the gaming. Thanks for watching.